Hey guys, Cece back with another video, and today's video is going to be none other than my eyeshadow palettes collection. Now I did a face palette collection a few videos ago, so if you haven't seen it, I'll link it in this video, so you definitely want to watch that as well. But I asked you guys in that video if you would like to see an eye palette collection. You all told me, yes girl, I would love to see an eye palette collection, so here I am. Now, this is your doing, so don't get mad at me because this video is going to be long as hell. I might have to split it up into two parts. I don't know yet, but there is a lot of eyeshadow palettes here, so I'm going to be going through them rather quickly. I'm not going to be doing any reviews or anything like that. You know what? Or maybe my favorites. I may do a few reviews, but many, very many reviews. If you guys want to see any of these in another video, in a more in-depth video, maybe a makeup tutorial, a full review, then let me know and I can certainly make that happen. But in this video, we're going to be going through these bad boys kind of quickly because there are lots of palettes sitting in front of me. I'm not even going to include like the small Wet n Wild palettes because that would just take all day. I'm only going to include mostly full-size palettes, so yeah, that's just gonna be that. So if you guys would like to sit here and see all of these eyeshadow palettes, get you a snack, get some popcorn, get a whole meal. Just go ahead and get your dinner, get your lunch, whatever time you're watching this video, get it, sit in front of the computer, your phone, your tablet, whatever you're watching this on, and let's get started. Alright, so first palette that we are going to get out of the way is just a homemade MAC palette. This just has most of my MAC shadows. As you can see, I don't have that many MAC shadows. I don't know, I feel like they're very comparable to other shadows out there that are the same price or less expensive. So I don't really do single shadows very often anyway. So yeah, that's my MAC palette. Next, I do have two of the Urban Decay Naked palettes. I have the 1 and 2. I never got the 3 or the Smoky, but I did get 1 and 2. I love both 1 and 2. They are staples in any makeup collection. So that is the Naked 1. And then this is the Naked 2. This is a lot more cool tone than the Naked 1. Next, I have the 3 Lorac Pro palettes. I have the 1, the 2, and the 3 right here in the middle. The third one actually just came out. Not gonna lie, I don't love it as much as the other 2, but it's still very gorgeous with very pretty colors in it. The pigmentation is there. The color payoff is there. That's the same thing as pigmentation. The blendability is there, and the palette is just as good of quality. Maybe I just got too many eye palettes at once, so I haven't given it enough love. But these other two, I definitely really did love these. This one was more cool tone, and it was the second version. And then for the original version, it was very warm toned, and I have definitely loved that one a lot. And just to let you guys know, these are in no particular order. I'm literally just pulling them out of here and showing you guys. So next I have the Morphe 35F palette. I don't think I've shown you guys this yet, but I want to do a look with this very soon because the palette is absolutely gorgeous. It is definitely a fall time palette. So this will probably honestly be a staple for me all fall. It's just so gorgeous. The colors are there. Like it has those cranberry shades and I just love it. I just wish there were more mattes in the palette. It only has the 1 row of mattes and then the rest are all shimmer shades. So that is the only thing I don't like about it. But other than that, same quality Morphe shades. And then sticking with Morphe, I have the Morphe Original 35O palette, which you guys know this baby is so gorgeous. I mean, this is like the best palette that anyone has ever come out with. Like, this palette has it all. And then there's the 35O Shimmer palette. And I did not get the all matte. I only grabbed the all shimmer. These are like pressed pigments. These colors are just so gorgeous and you can't beat it. Next are a few more palettes that I just showed you guys recently. The Nubian 2 palette by Juvia's Place. I've heard they're coming out with a Nubian 3, so I'm really excited to see if they do because I would love to see that. This palette is off the damn chain gorgeous. Like, ugh. I did an entire makeup tutorial with this look, so definitely check that out if you have not. I'll link it. But this palette is just so gorgeous, and the pan sizes are huge. And then another palette that almost reminds me a little of that, just in the way the shadows are made. This is the Violet Voss Laura palette, and I just did a review on this one as well. And those shades, I think this palette is really, really gorgeous as well. Check out that review to see my full thought on it, but just from first glance, the palette is beautiful. I have another little baby Morphe palette here. This is the 12S palette, and this is a very pretty warm toned all shimmer shade palette. So I haven't delved into this much. I don't know if I've used this at all yet, but I love Morphe shadows, especially their shimmer shades. I think they are to die for. So that, I'm gonna need to leave that out so I can use it. This is the little mini version of the Smashbox Full Exposure palette. I was not a big fan of this mini palette here. I didn't have the full size of the Full Exposure, but this palette, I didn't delve into this much. I used it a couple times and I wasn't as impressed as I thought I would be. So that's that. Then I have the Kat Von D Shade and Light palette. This one is in the plum shade, and these are just the little small quads that they came out with. I ended up grabbing 2 of these. I have another one around here somewhere, but I ended up grabbing 2 of these because I really like the concept and how you can just make a few simple looks from these quads. These are really, really nice for travel, and they have that same Kat Von D quality. Alright, so I did find the other one. This one is in the Rust shade, and I live for these like burnt orange colors right here. I just live for those shades. So this one is like my favorite one, but I think there's 4 different ones and I grabbed these 2. I have a MAC palette sitting in front of me. This is the Burgundy x 9 eyeshadow palette. It just has 9 mini MAC eyeshadows in it. So I did pick that up a few months ago. I haven't used it very, very much. I only used it a couple times, but they have obviously the wonderful quality MAC shadows in them. Then we have the Naked Basics by Urban Decay, a very, very basic everyday palette. This is for the person who doesn't really wear makeup. Okay, this is for the person that doesn't really wear makeup very often, and they're like, look, I just need a basic palette to do a basic eyeshadow look on a basic day. This is what this palette is for. It's also great if you're traveling and you just need like some accent colors. So if you just need a black, or if you just need a transition shade, you can get it in this palette, and you can just kind of throw this in with, maybe you have an all shimmer palette and you just need some transition shades. This is a good palette to just kind of throw with it and take along with you. I'm looking through this drawer and I'm like, oh my god, there are some palettes here that I didn't even remember I bought. Okay, this next one is the Tartelette Tease palette. This is just a small little mini version of the little Tartelette palettes. This is another great palette for travel. You can actually do a few good looks with this palette. The only thing it's missing is a really, really, really deep brown or a black. But you can do some really nice looks with this palette. Excellent to throw in for travel. This is the CoverGirl True Naked Roses palette. I got this in an influencer box, I think, and I wasn't the hugest fan of this palette, but I can say that I don't know, I do like the rosy tones in it. I just wasn't a big fan of the pigmentation and how it all came off on the skin. This palette is so old. This is the Stila Not So Nude palette. I want to say I got this off of Hot Look, but it has, what, 6 different eyeshadows, and then you get a convertible color lip and cheek, so like a cream lip and cheek color, and then you get the all over shimmer in the color Kitten, which is like Stila's iconic shade, which is like the best lid color ever. So that's like probably the main reason that I'm keeping this palette, is because of that big pan of Kitten. That is my favorite lid color ever, ever, ever. So I definitely am keeping this palette. Not that I'm getting rid of any of them, but two more little small palettes here. The first one is the Lorac Croc palette, and I really like this little quad here. This had four eyeshadow colors and then also a blush on the side. So another good palette to take for travel. If you're a very minimal makeup person and you're just like, I just need a few shades and a little blush to go with me, you can have this palette. It'll fit anywhere in any type of luggage, and you can just throw this and bring it along with you. Then I have a quad of the Lorac Unzipped palette. If you guys do not have the Lorac Unzipped palette, you're missing out. I don't have the Lorac Unzipped palette, but I have this quad and I really love it. And I've been like on the fence back and forth about going to get the Unzipped palette, but I just have so many warm toned gold neutral palettes that I just really didn't want to spend the money on it when I have so many, but I like that little quad. Okay, I have this palette here. This is the Lorac Nude Necessities palette. This palette was such a waste of money. I think I've used it like one time. The colors just were not as pigmented as I would have hoped they were, and they're all like subtle neutral. This isn't even a, like, you don't have a deep brown in here. There's no black in here. I feel like I cannot complete a full look with this palette. I mean, you could if you stretched it, but I just feel like for me, this isn't even a palette where I can complete a full look, and I just was not a fan of this palette at all. Now, the opposite goes for this palette. This is the first high-end makeup palette that I ever bought. This is a Bobbi Brown Day to Night Warm Eye palette. I have had this palette for a very long time. A very long time. I don't even want to tell y'all how long I've had this palette, but it's been so long, and I could never get rid of this palette just for nostalgia's sake. This was before I even started to wear makeup really, and I was like, I just need a basic palette for my eyes. I didn't really know where to look. I didn't really know what to spend. I think I spent like 50 bucks on this palette, and it only has 6 shades in it. But this is how it looks, and this was my baby. I mean, I used the mess out of this palette, and yeah, oh my god, I forgot about this. I don't even think the colors were that great. I really don't, but it was what I had to work with. Well, I didn't have to work with it obviously, but I bought it. I liked it at the time. I used it a lot. I used it everywhere I went because this was the only eyeshadow that I owned, and I was like, oh well, this palette will work for anything. It'll go with anything. I could wear it every day and I would be fine. Like I said, this was before I even started wearing makeup really, so yeah. Alright, let's go with some drugstore palettes here. This is a relatively new palette that I have not gotten a chance to use yet. This is the Makeup Revolution London Redemption Palette Iconic Elements. And this is just a typical neutral palette. It has 12 shades in it, all matte, and then there's one shimmer shade in there. I just don't know about this palette. I think I swatched it, and the colors, yeah, the colors were pretty pigmented, but as far as just the look and feel of the palette, I don't even know why I bought this. I'm not even really feeling the colors in the palette, but I'm going to try to make a couple looks with this and maybe it'll change my mind. Then I have this Wet n Wild palette here. This is the Studio Eye palette, and it's called Coming in Latte, and it's just a 10 color palette. These have great pigmentation. They're Wet n Wild shadows, so you guys know I love me some Wet n Wild, but this came out with their, I think it was their spring collection this year. I think I did a video showcasing this way back in the spring, early spring, probably like February. Spring collections usually come out in like February. But I think I did a video then showcasing this palette, and I mean, it had typical Wet n Wild pigmentation, which is great pigmentation. I just haven't used, I don't think I've used it since, honestly. Ooh, we have some new palettes. I don't even think I've shown you guys this one. This is the Gwen Stefani palette by Urban Decay. They had this on sale at Ulta like a month ago for like 20 bucks or $25. So I went ahead and picked it up. I have not used it yet, so I'm definitely looking forward to doing some looks with this. If you guys have this palette, let me know what you think of it down below. Urban Decay has some amazing eyeshadow palettes, so this one looks honestly no different. This is the It Cosmetics Naturally Pretty palette. I got this when I entered their contest last year. I entered a contest and they sent these out to the people, some of the people who entered, and so this palette was really pretty. I haven't used it much since then, honestly. I think I just have too much stuff. There was nothing really wrong with it. I like the palette. I actually had my eye on this for quite some time before they sent it to me, but it's just hard to keep up with everything, guys. You guys understand what I'm saying? Woo, y'all, we moving along. I have the Too Faced Peanut Butter and Jelly palette. This one I've shown you guys. It smells like peanut butter, so it smells so good, but it was just a really small palette. It has 6 colors in it, and then 6 small pans, and then 3 bigger pans that you can use for maybe blushes. You can use them for highlights. You can use them on the eyes still, and then it comes with just a little pamphlet to give you some creative ideas for eye looks. Tartelette palettes. This is the original. This is the Tartelette in Bloom. I like them both. Honestly, I used the mess out of the original, but I didn't get much use out of the Tartelette in Bloom. So, and I mean, I really like it. It was just a nice neutral warm tone palette, but I think it was too close to other palettes that I have, and that's maybe why I didn't get much use out of it. But that's the original, and I really like the original because it was more cool toned. It had like all those mauves and purples in it, and I like them both. Tarte's eyeshadows are like stunning, so I love them both. And then sticking with Tarte, I have another Tarte palette that I think I bought this a couple months ago too, and this just has 10 like huge eyeshadows in it, and it's just another neutral palette, but it has like, it's more cool, and it has like pops of green in it, and I just thought this was really pretty.